What is up, YouTube? Back in the garage-ish. Destroyed once again. Got some more staining stuff done on the deck, still working on that. And the goal this weekend is to try and get this XLCH fired up. But that'll be a second video just on that. We got back from TorqueFest last week and van drove great, but I did realize a couple things, especially now that I'm dealing in the truck again. Both the van and the truck are 302s. The van has a Overdrive AOD trans swap. The truck is a 3-speed manual. There are some major differences between the two vehicles, even though they're both small block Fords, and both 302 roller cam 302 or 50 swaps. So here's what we are thinking now. The tentative game plan on the van. One, right off the bat, we put really big tires on here. These are I don't remember what the metric numbers are, but they're 28 inches tall. The truck is about a 26, so the rear tires are 2 inches bigger. They do have 389s, they're both 9-inch rears. 389 gears in the van to kind of offset the travel speed and weight. But when we were driving out to Iowa, I definitely ran into some slight inclines, and with the Overdrive trans, in order for that to work efficiently, I need to basically shift it back down to third. I don't mind doing that when I'm driving, but it is hers. So Daddy doesn't necessarily understand all that, so it stays in overdrive. If it stays in overdrive, you can floor it, but you're losing speed on hills. You're wasting a ton of gas. And it's a 302 and a super heavy van. So it doesn't really have the torque that I'm looking for. And there's not a lot of room to swap a 351 in, so obviously we're gonna play with it. Instead of leaving a perfectly running driving vehicle alone, we are gonna mess with all sorts of things on that. Number one, when I built that motor, stock, nothing fancy, just a stock roller cam 50 with a factory cam. However, it's not a truck cam, it is a Mustang cam, which means it's designed to make a little bit more power up top. I do have ported heads on there, stock cast manifolds, because I don't want to get it too hot around the dog box with headers, or increase the noise because we travel pretty far in that thing. The Mustang cam does not make the torque where it needs to. So there's a couple approaches to that. Like I said, that van came with 325 gears originally, which is fine. They worked great with the C4. But when you add in an AOD, the overdrive ratio is a 0.67 for the final. So with 389s, I can cruise it at 60 miles an hour in, what would that be, drive, I guess? Take it out of overdrive. But she's screaming, she's like 3,300 RPMs. For whatever reason in the van, through that automatic, it feels way higher. My truck, on the other hand, which I'll show you guys in a little bit, in third gear, pulls right around 2,700 RPMs at 60, 65. But I've cruised that down the highway at 80 comfortably at about 3,200. So I don't know if it's just a manual trans versus the automatic on that end, but a game plan for the van. One, I'm going to pull the grill and the front dress off the motor, get to the timing chains. We are going to advance that cam. I know that I put a Chloe's or whatever the hell it's called. The timing set on there does have an advanced feature built in, which shouldn't be too bad. But ideally, I'm going to try and move the cam 4 degrees advanced to drop that power band. Like I said, it does have ported heads, but I also don't need 55, 6,000 RPMs in that van. It'll never see it. That thing typically shifts around 35 to 4,000 if we're laying into it, and even then, it'll stretch 4,500. That trans does have a shift kit in it, but it's a van, it's not going anywhere fast. However, I need torque, or at least to move that power band farther down. We're gonna start with the timing on the cam. If that doesn't fix it enough, then I think we're actually gonna jump the rear end gears up to a 411 from the 389. I know it seems crazy to put an overdrive trans in and then have to gear it up, but realistically, the van has a bed, 2 or 3 4 sheets of plywood, a bunch of wood on the ceiling, and is fully decked out and always hauling our camp gear and pop-up tents and all the other crap. So way heavier than the truck is, which I'll show you, and then when we drop the van off, because none of this is going to happen immediately, it's going to be a couple weeks. But when we're cruising the truck later, obviously the truck is a little bit lighter than the van, and more importantly, the truck motor is substantially hot rodded in comparison to the van. So long-winded little spiel. We'll take a quick little ride in the truck. I'll show you what the vacuum gauge and the RPMs and how that motor is responding currently. Then we'll take a little cruise in the van later today, hopefully, if it's not downpouring, and I'll show you what some of the issues I have on that are. But I'm happy with it, it's good, but we're talking about potentially going to Van Nationals in Colorado, and I need to get that highway gearing stuff figured out before we do a long trip like that. So that's where we're at. I'll take a quick cruise. Oh, the cold start daily driver. It's actually not even cold, it's super warm in this thing. Okay, so the truck at idle, it's a little cold, so it's going to come up a little bit, but cold idle, we're right at about 600 RPMs, pulling 20-21 inches of vacuum. Normally when it fully warms up, we're right at around 800-900. I like running the idle a bit on the higher side, but right around 21 to 22 inches of vacuum at idle. The van is not as healthy, it's a little bit less. I think it's pulling around 17-18 inches of vacuum, but it's smooth, steady. I don't know if that's just a loss through the transmission or whatever, fighting the converter, who knows. But that's roughly where that motor's at, and that was a quick rebuild. It wasn't anything, no machining rebuild on there. So both are fresh motors. The other difference is in the truck, this motor's hot rodded. We got 30 over pistons. Again, no machining rebuild, but it's 30 over pistons and AFR 165 aluminum heads, long tube headers with some cheapo glass packs. And I don't know, she gets up and goes pretty good. I'm really happy with it. 325 gear set in the rear end on this one, which is ideal. I mean, it would be a lot more fun if I put a set of 389s or something in here, but as a daily driver, I can cruise this at 70 comfortably, 75, 80 if need be. I don't like usually pushing them that hard, but 70 is very comfortable going down the road. So this one I'm currently happy with. Without an overdrive, I'm kind of limited on the total gearing, so we'll go for a quick little rip and show you guys what this thing does under load. All right, so we're cruising about 48 miles an hour right now. At cruising speed, we are currently pulling 2,000 RPMs, just under, and 19 inches of vacuum. Here's a slight incline, so it'll drop down a little bit. 15 to get up the hill, and that's a little more throttle to keep speed. Notice on the tack side we're at 2,000 RPMs at 45-ish. Third gear pull. Now we're doing about, the speedo's about 10 miles an hour off, so 65, 2,300 RPM. About wide open, this thing will pull hard, but in cruising 2,200 RPMs, 8 throttle-ish just to keep it going, and we're in that 15 to 20 inches of vacuum range. The motor's happy, it makes plenty of power to pull it as the low end to pull through the slight inclines. The van, not so much. I think the van under normal, like same speed, we're about 10 to 12 inches of vacuum, so turn you guys back around. all these changes as soon as the time allows. Well, we were going to do a cut to the van video, but now I'm running some errands, picking up some parts. Found a track lock center section, so a locking posi center section for a 9-inch. The gears are wrong, but I can swap that over. It's got some extra parts I got to take off too, but going up north, jumping the border to Wisconsin, picking that up before we head home. So take you guys with me, I guess, and then go through all of the stuff I'm sourcing for this Falcon as soon as I can get it back to the house. Well, we made it home from the adventure today. Worked. New pair of boots, much overdue, because I got holes in these everywhere. And more importantly, picked up this track lock 9-inch rear. Now, if you look at this one, it does have the wrong yoke. It's the flange style instead of the U-joint connection. So that's gonna get swapped. Luckily, the Falcon already has a 9-inch that I set up when I built it the first time. So you got a 9-inch 28 spline rear with 389 gears in there. The overdrive and the trans on that car is messed up, so that's going to get 411s with the working overdrive when I can dig it out from underneath the table on the side of the garage. Then this will get a quick overhaul, and I'll swap out the gears because, like I said, I think these are like 270 somethings. I didn't even check them, but I gotta replace the yoke. This shield will come off, and other than that, we got a good locking third member. So I consider that a win for on a whim purchase off of the Facebook today. Everything turns free and all right, and we're gonna rebuild that whole thing. I'll do a video on that at a later date, hopefully. But now we're back home. Not doing the van video, so that's going to be a separate one. I'll forward this video somewhere in here to take you to this, comparing and contrasting the two. But today's project, I think I want to get that iron head fired up, but garage is absolutely trashed once again. I feel like 90% of my life is spent cleaning up the garage, which kind of sucks. But when you're doing a million different things, not all bike projects, but life gets in the way. Staining the deck, camping, pulling everything out, lots of stuff to go through, get rid of. So I'm gonna work on that today and try and get the workbench cleared off and get all my tools put away, because that's been scattered for like a week or so. Last week's crunch to get ready for Torque Fest really set me back on that end. Pull the hitch off the van, get this out, and then ideally get the van ready to go back so I can get the Falcon back here, take some measurements, and verify a couple things on the ball joints and all the front end stuff that I got to put an order in to grab. So let me get the garage cleaned up. We'll check back in a little while. All right, well, I'm back. Garage is clean-ish. Never done enough. I got a tower of miscellaneous bins that I still got to go through. The bottom one's for this 351. When I pull the heads off, all of the Falcon parts that I've been accumulating over the last couple swaps and miscellaneous things. Got another bin for that somewhere. Move some of the paint and stain stuff temporarily in there until we finish up that project. But I fired up the blue Sporty. Got a guy coming tomorrow to take a look at that. Hopefully that thing will leave tomorrow. I love that bike, but I'm ready for that to be gone because we have other things going on, and that's one thing I don't want to worry about. But other than that, I mean, fired right up, no issues after sitting since I put that regulator in. I haven't started it since the last time when I swapped that regulator, did a quick test drive. Jenny light stayed off, fired right up after idle from sitting for a couple weeks. It is low on gas, so I will have to top off the tank, but other than that, we're done there. Got the generator stuff off of here, got the storage stuff away except for that one cast iron skillet that's going inside. This will come off and go to the back of the house by the shed. One cooler is drying out, and a printer that's got to go in the house and some other miscellaneous. I got one little house pile.